So guitar players use a lot of different terms to describe the sounds that they are creating and the sounds that they're hearing. So basically, it's like animals communicating. We are communicating some words to describe what we are hearing. The only problem is that if we say a certain word to another guitar player or somebody else, there is a high chance that that word sounds different to other people. So what I figured out we should do here is create an absolutely brand new video series on this fabulous YouTube channel, which you may like. You're gonna tell me about it, definitely. But what I want to talk about today, I want to talk about some terms that are frequently used in our guitar players' world, but I want to sort of describe these words in a little bit of a technical way and figure out. Imagine it like a cookbook. We're going to figure out what ingredients are needed to cook a chimey stew. You see, today I want to talk about chime. So I highly encourage you to stay with me for the next few minutes and go grab something to drink, preferably something in a shroom cup. Maybe something alcoholic so you can bear me for the next few minutes, exploring the term chime. What is a chimey sound? Historically, how people were getting chimey sounds, and how you could get chimey sounds with pretty much any equipment. You ready? Let's go. So let's first establish what do we know about a chimey sound. According to the internet and YouTube, in the last 15 years, what is considered to be a chimey sound is usually connected to the Vox AC30 top boost amplifier, to be a little bit specific. It is connected to like Jaguar guitars, maybe even Jazzmasters, and single coil guitars in general, Strats, Tellies, and stuff like that. So it has something to do with like single coils, Vox AC30 sounds, and there is a clear distinction between a Vox AC30 clean sound and, let's say, a Fender type clean sounds, both clean sounds being great and glorious, but the Vox is chimey. So what I want to talk about today is actually what makes a Vox chimey, what makes those guitars chimey, and stuff like that, as I said in the beginning. And so let me go get my guitar, which is right over here. So in my opinion, this would be like a chimey sound, all right? All right, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna switch over to a different sound, which is not chimey, so we can hear the contrast. So what we are going to do now is we're going to play these two sounds once again, and we're going to take a look at the equalizer, and we are going to try and see if there is anything graphically different about these two sounds and figure out which part of the spectrum is affected and what makes the actual difference. I think it's extremely clear that the sound that we call chimey has a clear dominance in, let's say, the 3K spectrum, something that we technically call the high mid-range. So it is not the top end, doesn't necessarily have to be considered an open sound, which is, I guess, a different term that we are going to explore in this video series, in the case you like it. But what I'm trying to say is that there is a dominance of the high mid-range frequencies. There is something happening in the mids. There is a clear lack of bass compared to the other sound, which had a dominance somewhere in the lower mid-range. Now, I'm not trying to say that one sound is better than the other. Obviously, all sounds are great if they're used in the right context, but in this case, we're exploring Chimey. By the way, if you're interested in what you're hearing, I'm currently using the ToneX plugin with the same impulse response for both amplifiers. I just switched the amplifier. In the first case, I was using one of those tone models of an AC30. In the second case, I was using one of the tone models for some angle amplifier, some crunchy setting, something like this. Two clearly different amplifiers that give us different sounds. But the IR is the same, so we only had the change in the amplifier. By the way, if you're liking this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me grow this channel if you show that you are liking what I'm doing. And please check out the Slightly Technical Academy, which you can find at slightlytechnicalacademy.com, where I am creating a community of people who are willing to learn this stuff. You've got ToneX packs over there, free ToneX profiles, tech pages, some great courses are coming on DIY stuff, and there's gonna be a lot of great content over there, so I encourage you to join us. Okay, so this is the nerdy part. I want to get deep into what makes like a Vox AC30 sound chimey, all right? So everybody knows that the Vox AC30 has the power section that it uses EL84 tubes, and everybody says that's the sound of the EL84. It makes the sound chime. And well, it's not as simple as that, but I would just like to say this, all right? So the Vox is a very specific amplifier. It is very original and unique in its design. The Vox has a power section which is not exactly bassy. So the EL84 based power section is not exactly bassy, which is one of the contributors that you have the dominance in the high mid-range. Another thing that's happening in the Vox, especially the top boost, is these Vox circuits have a lot of low-end filtering in the preamp section. Therefore, you're going to get some chiminess, right? So some 3K dominance. Yet another thing that is helping this whole thing basically sound like this is that a Vox has a tone stack which dips a lot of mids around 900 Hz, 1 kHz, and we can also visualize that. So take a look at this. This is the tone stack calculator, which I used a few times on my channel, and this is the Vox, like a typical Vox tone stack, and you can see that there is like almost a 25 dB difference here. There's a clear dip in the mids, which is centered around, let's say, around 1 kHz. It's going to move when you move the treble, but I don't want to get extremely deep into that. What I'm trying to say is that if we are trying to figure out what are the ingredients that we need to create a chimey sound, well, it's lack of bass, because you don't necessarily need to increase 3K, you just remove a lot of the bass and you are going to get sort of like the, you know, high mid-range dominance. And not only the lack of bass, but also filtering of the mid-range frequencies helps the sound not distort in those frequencies when it enters the like upcoming gain stages. I hope that makes sense. Another thing that I want to say, I think it's really important, and then I will stop with like the technical stuff, is that a chimey sound to me is harmonically rich. So it's not dull, it is not extremely clean, it is like an edge of breakup sound, because you need some harmonic richness to create those resonances, those bell-like shapes that you saw on the equalizer, making the sound chimey and also like bell-like sounding. A lot of people would describe that with using the word bell. So basically tailoring the harmonic structure so that you are not heavily distorting the mid-range frequencies will contribute to the sound being chimey. One extremely important thing to note about Vox AC30 amplifiers that the speakers used in the original Voxes were Alnico speakers, usually the Alnico Blues, and Alnico speakers are characterized by this dominance in the high mid-range frequencies, which is also another contributor to the bell-like chimey sound. So basically what I said is that you've got multiple contributors to the chimey sound at different gain stages in the whole Vox circuit. Obviously, a huge contributor to making the sound chimey is if you use a guitar that usually doesn't have a lot of low end. Therefore, Jaguars also Rickenbackers. Not only that they don't have like low end, I wouldn't say that these guitars don't have low end, but they have sometimes because of the pickups are used, and sometimes because of the fact that some of them are hollow bodies, stuff like this, they would have certain notches in the mid-range which contribute to this hollowness, so these certain frequencies, mid-range frequencies, don't get distorted, and that also contributes to the chimey sound. I know that I got a little bit technical here, but I just thought that these were important facts that needed to be said. So let's say we have a guitar setup and it is not chiming, and we would like to make it a little bit more chimey. What are the steps that you would need to follow to make the guitar chimey? Like the cookbook thing, what are the ingredients that we need? Well, we need an increase in the high mid-range or lowering some of the basically bass low end. So I would suggest that you approach this in two basic steps. The first step that I would do is I would use something like a treble booster. Treble boosters are pedals that basically boost only frequencies above 1K or even like higher. They're boosting only the high mid-range, and usually these pedals are used in front of amplifiers. Therefore, they're really, really good for not only adding this frequency range, but shaping the harmonic structure of the distortion, right, of what the amplifier does. So let's try that out, all right? So basically what I'm going to be using is the angle amplifier, which was set up not to chime, and I'm also going to engage another instance of the ToneX plugin where I have loaded my tone model of my treble booster, which is like a treble booster pedal. You can find it on my website. So this is the sound that we are starting with. Not really chimey. Let's engage the pedal. All right, it starts to chime. Actually, in my opinion, this is absolutely fine for me. I wouldn't need to push anything anymore, but there is yet another thing that you could potentially do to maybe, let's say, increase the chime, improve the chime, something like that. Basically, what you can do is also use a post equalizer. Let's say you don't have a treble booster pedal and you don't have the possibility to change the harmonic structure of your amp, or you don't want to change the harmonic structure of your amp, but you want to increase the chime. What you could do is you could add an EQ pedal in the effects loop, or you can do some kind of post-processing. And let's hear now basically this same amplifier. I'm going to disengage the treble booster, but what we are going to do is we are going to add some 3K on our equalizer. So this is the sound without the equalizer engaged. Mid-rangey, not chimey. And now what we're going to do is we are going to increase some 3K just like this. And let's hear what it sounds like. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to engage the treble booster, and we're going to keep the EQ engaged, and let's see what we get. Alright, so what I just played was a little bit exaggerated, not necessarily a sound that I would use, but I sort of gave you the ingredients that you need to make your sound chimey. Sometimes you need more boost, sometimes you need less boost. It all depends on your equipment, but basically that's what we did today. We were talking about chime, about chimey sounds and how you can get these sounds with a lot of different equipment. I encourage you to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I thank everybody for watching. And let me know what is the next word that I should be exploring in this fabulous video series.